The desperate flight, the silence of deep space was broken only by the music-labored hum of dying engines. 12. Transport vessels limped through the darkness, their hulls scorched and battered from weeks of running. Inside these ships, 450,000 Zenithar civilians huddled together, holding on to the last threads of hope that grew thinner with each passing hour. Fleet Commander Sarah stood on the bridge of the lead transport, the Morning Star. Her silver skin had dulled from stress, and her three-fingered hands gripped the edge of her command console until her knuckles turned white. She was young for a fleet commander, barely into her fourth decade, but the war had aged her beyond her years. Her bright green eyes, which had once sparkled with optimism, now held only the weight of impossible responsibility. The viewing screen before her showed the same terrible truth it had shown for the past 19 days. Behind them, gaining slowly but steadily, came the Krillian war fleet. 30 vessels of death and destruction, each one designed for a single purpose: conquest and annihilation. Her communications officer, Telvan, looked up from his station, his voice cracked when he spoke, revealing the fear they all felt. Commander, the Krillians have increased speed again. They will be within weapons range in less than 2 hours. Sarah nodded slowly. She had known this moment would come. Their old civilian transports could not outrun purpose-built warships forever. The laws of physics were cruel and absolute, and no amount of hope could change them. How are the other ships holding up? She asked, though she already knew the answer would not be good. Telvan consulted his displays, his face growing darker with each reading. Transport 7 has lost another engine. They are running on emergency power only. Transport 3 reports their life support systems are failing. They have maybe 6 hours before the air becomes toxic. Transport 9 has sent a message that their food synthesizers have completely broken down. Sarah closed her eyes for just a moment. Behind her eyelids she saw the faces of her people, children who would never grow old, elders who had survived so much only to die in the cold void, families torn apart by war who had finally reunited on these ships, believing they might find safety somewhere among the stars. The Zenithar home world was gone. Now the Krillian Dominion had wanted their planet for its rare minerals and strategic location. When the Zenithar government had refused to surrender, the Krillians had simply bombarded their world from orbit. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to ashen hours. Forests that had grown since ancient times were burned to nothing. These 12 ships represented the last survivors of an entire civilization. Sarah carried not just the lives of 450,000 people, but the memory and future of her entire species. The weight of it pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force, threatening to crush her spirit entirely. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. Her voice was steady even though her hearts were racing with fear and grief. She would not let her people hear her despair. A leader's duty was to remain strong even when strength seemed impossible. Channel open, Commander Telvan reported. Sarah took a deep breath and spoke into the communication system. This is Fleet Commander Sarah to all Zenithar vessels. I know you are frightened. I know you're tired. I know you have sacrificed everything and traveled so far, hoping to find safety. That seems impossible to reach. She paused, choosing her next words Carefully, I cannot promise you that. Help will come, I cannot promise you. That we will survive this day, but I can promise you this, we will face whatever comes together. We are Zenithar. We have survived for 10,000 years through ice, ages and plagues and wars and disasters. We will not surrender our dignity now, even if we cannot escape our fate. Across the 12 ships, 450,000 people listened to their commander's words. Some wept, some prayed to the old gods. Some simply held their loved ones close and waited for the end. On the bridge of the Morning Star, the tactical officer suddenly made a sound of confusion. Commander, I am detecting something strange. Space itself is behaving oddly. Directly ahead of our position, Sarah looked at the main viewing screen. At first, she saw nothing unusual, just the endless darkness sprinkled with distant stars. Then she noticed it, a point of light that should not exist. It was growing, expanding, twisting into shapes that hurt her eyes to watch. What is that? She whispered. I do not know. The tactical officer replied, his voice filled with wonder and fear mixed together. It appears to be some kind of spatial anomaly, a rift in the fabric of space-time itself, but such things are purely theoretical. They should not be possible. The point of light grew larger and larger, becoming a swirling vortex of blue and white energy. It spun like a whirlpool in the ocean, except this whirlpool existed in the void where nothing should be able to spin at all. The energy crackled and sparked, sending waves of exotic radiation across their sensors. Then something emerged from the impossible light. It was a ship, but unlike any ship Sarah had ever seen. The vessel was massive, easily 3 times the size of their largest transport. Its hull was dark and angular, covered with weapons and armor that spoke of serious military purpose. Strange symbols were painted on its side in white letters that our translation system struggled to interpret. USS Resolute, the computer finally rendered. United Earth Naval Forces, Earth. Telvin said slowly, that is the human home world, but they are so far from here. Their space is on the other side of the galaxy. How could they possibly be here now? The spatial rift collapsed behind the strange warship, leaving it hanging alone between the refugee fleet and their pursuers. For a long moment nothing happened. The human ship simply floated there, dark and silent and powerful. Then a voice cut across all communication frequencies. It spoke in a language Sarah had never heard, harsh and rhythmic, but her translation system quickly rendered it into words she could understand. Krillian vessels, this is Captain Marcus Chin of the United Earth Naval Forces. Warship Resolute, you are pursuing unarmed civilian refugees through neutral space. This is a violation of multiple interstellar laws and basic moral decency. Power down your weapons systems immediately and withdraw to your own territory. You have exactly 60 seconds to comply. On the bridge of the Morning Star, every Zenithar officer stared at the viewing screen in shocked silence. A single ship was challenging an entire Krillian war fleet. It seemed like madness, seemed like suicide. The Krillian fleet did not slow down. They did not power down their weapons. 30 warships continued their approach, their gunports glowing with building energy. The Krillians feared nothing in this sector of space. They were the apex predators, the unstoppable force. One lone ship, no matter how large or strange, was nothing but an annoyance to Be swatted aside, the human captain's voice came again, and this time it was colder than the void itself. 60 seconds have passed. Resolute, all weapons free. Engage hostile forces. Show them why. Humanity does not tolerate bullets. When humanity answers the call, the battle that followed would be studied in militarities for generations to come. It would be analyzed and debated and used as an example of what happens when technological superiority meets tactical brilliance. But for those who witnessed it in that moment, it was simply the most terrifying and awe-inspiring thing they had ever seen. The Krillian War fleet opened fire first. 30 ships unleashed their full arsenal. Simultaneously, plasma cannons fired. Streams of superheated matter, missile tubes launched hundreds of warheads. Energy weapons carved lines of destructive force through the darkness. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon, the human warship. Resolute did not try to dodge. She did not attempt to flee. Instead, she activated defensive systems that the Zenithar did not even know were possible. A shimmering field of energy appeared around the Resolute, enveloping her in a protective bubble of force. The Krillian weapon struck this field and simply vanished, their energy absorbed and dispersed harmlessly. What few shots penetrated the main shield were destroyed by smaller automated defense turrets that tracked and eliminated threats with mechanical precision. On the bridge of the Morning Star fleet, Commander Sarah watched with her mouth open in disbelief. The Krillian fleet had just thrown enough firepower to obliterate her entire convoy, and the human ship had stopped it all without taking a single hit. Commander Telvin said, his voice shaking with emotion. Their shields have not even fluctuated. It is as if the Krillian weapons are nothing but insects bouncing off armor plating. Then the Resolute returned fire, and the Zenithar learned what true military power looked like. The human warship was armed with weapons that operated on principles the Zenithar did not understand. Her main guns were magnetic accelerators that fired solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. These slugs of dense metal crossed the distance to their targets in fractions of a second, moving too fast for any conventional defense system to track or intercept. The first Krillian destroyer took 3 hits in rapid succession. The projectiles punched through its shields as if they were made of paper, tore through armor plating like it was thin cloth, and exited the far side of the ship in explosions of vaporized metal. The destroyer broke apart, its reactor core breaching and creating a brief new sun in the darkness. The second Krillian ship died before the wreckage of the first had finished spreading. Then the third fell. Then the fourth tried desperately to change course, but the human targeting systems had already calculated its trajectory and fired before it completed the maneuver. On the command deck of the Resolute, Captain Marcus Chen sat in his command chair and watched the tactical display with calm, measured attention. He was a man in his early 50s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. His crew moved around him with practiced efficiency, each person performing their role in a deadly dance they had rehearsed countless times. Tactical status report, Chin said quietly. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, responded without looking up from her console. All primary targets are eliminated. The remaining Krillian vessels are attempting to scatter. Point. Defense systems are operating at optimal Efficiency. Shields are holding at 97%. No damage to our hull or systems. Chin nodded. Do not let them escape. Slavers and war criminals do not get to run away. And try again later. He leaned forward slightly in his chair. Target there. Engines first. Disable them then. Destroy them one by one. The Resolute pursued the fleeing Krillian ships with the patience of an experienced hunter. Her engines were more powerful than anything in this region of space, allowing her to catch the enemy vessels with ease. Her weapons were more accurate than the Krillians could comprehend, striking vital systems with surgical precision. Some Krillian captains tried to surrender. They broadcast messages begging for mercy, offering information and treasure. The Resolute did not respond to their pleas. The weapons kept firing until every hostile ship was reduced to expanding clouds of debris and frozen atmosphere. The entire engagement lasted just under 14 minutes. 30 Krillian warships had been completely destroyed. The human vessel had not suffered even minor damage. Her shields had never dropped below 95%. Her ammunition stores were barely touched. When it was over, silence fell across the refugee fleet. The Zenithar could not process what they had just witnessed. A single ship had destroyed an entire war fleet that they had considered unstoppable. One vessel had accomplished what would have required hundreds of their own military ships. Captain Chin opened a communication channel to the refugee fleet. His voice was gentle now, stripped of the cold hardness it had held during combat. Zenithar vessels. This is Captain Chin of the Resolute. The immediate threat has been eliminated. Please stand by for assistance. On the bridge of the morning star, Fleet Commander Sarah finally found her voice. Captain Chin, this is Fleet Commander Sarah. I do not know what to say. You saved us. You came from nowhere and saved us all. There was a brief pause before Chin responded. We received your distress signal 17 days ago, Commander. We have been traveling at maximum speed ever since to reach you. I'm only sorry we did not arrive sooner. His voice carried genuine regret. We are dispatching medical teams and supply shuttles to your vessels now. Our doctors will treat your injured and our engineers will help repair your critical systems. Sarah felt tears running down her silver cheeks. But why? We are nothing to you. We have no alliance with humanity. We have no wealth to offer. Why would you cross half the galaxy to help strangers? Chen's answer was simple and direct. Because you needed help and we were able to provide it. That is all the reason we require. Over the next several hours, human shuttles docked with every transport in the Zenithar fleet. Medical teams brought advanced healing equipment and medicines. Engineers brought spare parts and tools. Supply officers brought food, water, and other essential resources. But most importantly, they brought hope. Dr. Elizabeth Akona was the chief medical officer aboard the Resolute. She had been treating wounded and sick Zenithar for 6 hours straight, without rest. When a young Zenithar female approached her, the girl could not have been more than 8 years old in human terms, with bright green eyes full of innocent curiosity. Are you really human? The child asked shyly. Elizabeth smiled and knelt down to the child's level. I'm really human. My name is Elizabeth. What is your name? My name is Kira. The girl tilted her head slightly, studying Elizabeth's face. My mother says humans are special. She says you Fight for people you do not even know. Is that true? Elizabeth thought carefully about how to answer. We fight for what is right. When we find people in trouble, we try to help them. It does not matter if we know them or not. Everyone deserves to be safe and cared for. The child processed this information seriously. The other species are not like you. They only help if they gain something. They calculate and measure and decide if we are worth saving. But you just came. You asked for nothing. You simply came. Elizabeth felt her chest tighten with emotion. She reached out and gently touched the child's shoulder. A very long time ago, humans were refugees too. We were hurt and scared and needed help. Some people helped us and some did not. We remember both kinds. We promised ourselves that we would always be the kind that helps. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Chin met with Fleet Commander Sarah. Through a video link, the Zenithar leader looked exhausted, but her eyes now held something they had not held in weeks. Hope. Captain, where can we go? Sarah asked. Our home world is destroyed. We have no allies in this sector. Every species we have encountered sees us as easy prey or unwanted burdens. Chin smiled kindly. There is a human colony called New Terra. About 9 days travel from here at your ship's maximum safe speed. The colony has plenty of room and resources. They specialize in welcoming refugees and helping them build new lives. His smile grew wider. The colonists are going to love meeting you. Humans get very excited about making new friends, but we have nothing to offer in return. Sarah protested. We are broken and poor. We will be a burden on your colony. Chin shook his head firmly. You are not a burden. You are people who have survived terrible hardship and still maintained your dignity and hope. That is worth more than any resource or trade agreement. He leaned forward slightly. Besides, you underestimate what you bring. You bring your knowledge, your culture, your unique perspective on the universe. You bring your skills and talents and determination. In a few years, I would not be surprised if Zenithar becomes some of the most valued members of New Terra society. Tears flowed freely down Saratha's face now. Do not understand humans. You are so different from every other species we have encountered. You give without asking. You fight without seeking reward. You care about strangers as if they were family. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Humanity learned some very hard lessons in our history. We experienced terrible wars and atrocities. We saw what happens when people stop caring about each other, when they see other beings as less than themselves. He paused. We decided that we never wanted to be that way again. We decided that compassion and kindness are not weaknesses but our greatest strength. Every human child learns this principle. We are all connected. Your suffering matters because you matter. The convoy began its journey to New Terra with the Resolute serving as their guardian. The great human warship flew beside the battered transports like a protective parent watching over beloved children. No enemy would dare approach. While she stood watch as the ships traveled through the stars together, something remarkable began to happen. Humans and Zenithar started to know each other not as rescuers and refugees, but as people. They shared meals and stories. They taught each other games and songs. Human children played with Zenithar children, creating friendships that transcended species. One evening, Fleet Commander Sarah stood in the observation deck of the Morning Star and watched the Resolute through the transparent hull, the human warships. Running lights glowed softly in the darkness, a beacon of safety in the endless void. Captain Chin joined her through a private communication channel. His face appeared on a small holographic display beside her. Beautiful view is it not? Sarah nodded slowly. I have spent weeks running through this darkness, seeing only death behind us and uncertainty ahead, but now when I look out at the stars, I see something different. I see hope. I see possibility. She turned to look at Chen's image. I see humans, and I understand now why the galaxy speaks of you and whispers. Chen raised an eyebrow. Do they really? What do they say? They say you are terrifying in battle but gentle in peace. They say you possess weapons that could destroy worlds but use them only to protect the helpless. They say you have technology that seems like magic, but share it freely with those in need. She smiled softly. They say that when humans arrive, everything changes. Chen chuckled. We are not magical, Commander. We are just people who decided that kindness matters more than conquest. We are just beings who believe that the measure of a civilization is how it treats those who have nothing to offer. In return, the journey continued, and with each passing day, the Zenithar refugees grew stronger, their bodies healed from the physical wounds of war, and their spirits recovered from the deeper trauma of loss and fear. By the time New Terra appeared on their sensor, they were no longer just survivors. They had become something more, the first members of what would grow into a great alliance between humanity and the Zenithar people. As the transports prepared to enter orbit around New Terra, Sarah sent one final message to Captain Chin and the crew of the Resolute. You came when no help was coming. You fought when the battle seemed impossible. You gave when you had every reason to refuse. My people will never forget this. We will tell our children and our children's children about the day humanity emerged from the void and changed our fate forever. Captain Chen's response was simple but carried the weight of truth. Commander, you and your people would have done the same for us. Of that I have no doubt. Welcome to New Terra, welcome to your new home, and welcome to the beginning of a friendship that will last for generations. The Resolute remained in orbit for 3 more days, ensuring the Zenithar were safely settled before departing. As the great warship prepared to jump back into deep space, thousands of Zenithar gathered to watch her leave. They stood together, refugees no more, and they raised their hands in the traditional Zenithar gesture of deepest gratitude. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Chin returned the gesture on behalf of his crew. Then the ship activated her spatial drive, and a new rift opened in space. The warship slipped through and disappeared, heading back into the darkness to watch for others who might need help. Behind her, on New Terra, a new chapter had begun. The Zenithar had found not just sanctuary but family among the stars, and humanity had proven once again that their greatest weapon was not their advanced technology or powerful warships, but their unwavering commitment to doing what was right, even when the entire galaxy was watching. The story would spread across countless worlds in the years to come, the tale of the day when no help was coming, and then a human warship emerged from the endless void to save an entire species from annihilation. It became a legend, a reminder that in the darkest moments, Hope could arrive from the most unexpected places, wearing the colors of the United Earth Naval Forces and carrying the compassion of a species that refused to let the innocent suffer alone.